Good morning. I wanted to show you this limited palette with mixing lights for clouds, for light areas in your paintings like abstracts, for instance, or light passages like water. Anyway, here we go. I'm just mixing up some warm white from the Indian yellow here, which is next to my this is vermilion red here today. So here's the warm white that I've mixed up next to the white out of a tube. And this is the Portland Gray Warm by Gamblin. So I've got my lighter colors over here, my warms over here, and then my cools over here, which is ultramarine and the new turquoise by Cobra. And here's some black by Cobra. This is Cobra, this is Cobra, this is Cobra, Gamblin, Cobra, and then of course a combination of the yellow with the white to make the warm white. So when you're making light passages in a painting like clouds or so, you want to be able to get some pre-mixed things. So this is pre-mixed here, the warm white, and I'm going to mix it up with just variations of all these so you can prepare yourself for painting light passages in your painting. So here we'll go ahead and put a little pile of the warm white and put it with a little of the ultramarine. I've got all my favorite palette knives here. So the warm white with the ultramarine, we'll just make a pile of that, and we can certainly lighten it as we go or darken it. We can darken it by adding a little eyelash amount of red, and it'll make it more of a toned down blue toward the purple side. That's almost too much. I'm talking an eyelash. If you do 2 or 3 eyelashes, it's almost too much. Of course, if you're going to make big piles, you're going to probably have, for light, you're going to have 10 more piles of white to 2 piles or 2 eyelashes or 3 eyelash amounts of color. So now we have this combination of the ultramarine that is more bluer here on the left and more grayed down or neutralized with the red in there. So there's a little duo there for a nice darker than you want for clouds, but maybe compared to something else too light. But there you go. There's 2 combos right there. So I clean my knives so I don't get too much contamination. So let's go ahead and make some more piles. We'll make one just with the ultramarine and the blue, just a tiny bit of blue. So you can see this is a very pale blue. It's still blue, but it's so white that it reads as white, but it's got that tiny bit of blue in there. So maybe a silver lining for a cloud or a lighter, cooler passage. You know, next to this, it's a beautiful combination. All right, clean the knife, and then I'll go and start with maybe my turquoise a little bit. Again, an eyelash with a pile of white. Oh, we get this really pale aqua. Nice, nice, nice. And of course, if you want it darker, a little bit more of the teal. Gamblin calls this turquoise. Cobra calls this turquoise blue. Gamblin makes a cobalt teal too that's very similar to the Cobra one. Let's make it a little darker. So we have a little darker turquoise blue. Now if we want to just end up with a little bit of the ultramarine and this combo, we get more of a more chromatic teal The more you mix, the more it changes. You got to really mix good. So if you just look at this, we've got the blue. This is more of a sky blue. Then we've got the purpley blue. Look how beautiful, warm. It transitions from a cool to a warm. And then, of course, with the more white, it's really cool. Then we added the teal, I want to keep calling it teal, but it's called turquoise. Light, medium, and dark. So we've got light, medium, and dark. So we can work with that. If we wanted to take this combo and add a little bit of the red, the vermilion red, we can get it to, I'm just being very gingerly because I don't want to get it too gray, but just gray enough. It's almost the color of this plastic palette that I'm using. It's about the same value as the plastic. So that's really grayed down now. Look at that wonderful warm. That becomes cooler because it's a little lighter and cooler next to this warmer. So what I'm saying is the relationship to temperature changes as you mix things. When you add a warm to it, it gets warmer. If you don't have the warm in this, it's cooler. So there you go. It's about the relationships. I've got some black here. Of course, you can add black to any of these combos and make it even grayer, depending on what you want to do. You can make it grayer, darker grayer, and of course it's the same value as this plastic palette. I'm doing it on a gray palette just so you can see the colors, the lighter colors better, but when I do the mid-range value of this gray, for instance, you can hardly see a change because it's the same value as the plastic. Okay, so that being said, let's go over to some piles of gray. Here's our gray right out of the tube. Let's add some white to it. I love this Gamblin warm gray. It's just a wonderful warmth to anything you're doing. So here it is, toned down a little bit with white, or cooled with white, and it's more palatable for skies, of course, if you add the white to it. So let's add some of the red to it and see what happens, how warm it gets with the red. It gets a rosy, it already is naturally out of the tube. It has a little red in it. So it kind of goes to pink. So you have to be careful if you want that much pink in passes of paint, but you might. So now it's going to more of a orangey red. Of course it's grayed down, neutralized, so it's really a very beautiful color. Now it's so much warmer than this pile. So you might want that. I mean, these are all such wonderful colors together for sky. Let's go ahead and put some with the warm white. I'll just change this palette knife. It's already loaded. A little bit more warm white. You really need to mix up your warm white if you're doing light passages, because you want warmth in some of these whiter tones, lighter tones, so you don't get chalky color. So look at this wonderful warm white next to this rosier pass of paint. So subtle. Okay, so let's just take what we have left a little bit and add some of this Indian yellow to it, just a little eyelash or two, and see how that combo looks. If you're doing skies, you want colorful skies, but subtle, close values. Here you go. This is how you do it. Making all these lovely piles are just so fun to have already done, and you just go to it. So this is sort of a mauve color. If you like the color mauve, this is it. Okay, and you can get as yellow as you want. Oops. And get golden. See how golden it looks, but yet it's not too chromatic golden where it just jars your eye. It's just a little change, shift in warmth and color, adding that Indian yellow to that pile of warm gray. Okay, now we know that if you add black to yellow, it's going to turn green. And if you're doing this limited palette and you just want to limit your colors, this is a great one to invest your time in, because you're not so bogged down with so many colors on your palette that you get overwhelmed and don't know what to do because you might have gotten mud or something. So this is going to go to an olive green. This black, olive green black, it's almost like a black just to the eye in a painting, but it is olive green, so there you go. And you add a little white to it. Let's just a warm white. You may get a grayish green. Yep, it's coming to a grayish green. Pretty, very pretty. This would be a great marsh color for like an oyster bed in a painting, or I don't know, a boat, piers, just a grayish green. Of course, if you want it more green, just add more yellow. There we go, with a nice grayish green. Okay, so now let's do more. So now we're getting to darks, but I wanted to stay away from too many darks. I just wanted you to see, how deep you can go in value. So let's go to the ultramarine blue and a little bit of black and a little bit of the turquoise by Cobra. And now you can get a chromatic dark. So now we can also start to go lighter in value and get a different range of blues that are more grayish in tone, more neutralized. That's a beautiful color. So that's the two blues and black, and then we'll just keep going down the line a little bit with the white. So it's not as chromatic as that, but it's lovely. And if you compare it, it's warmer. So it just depends on what temperature you're trying to do and what it's next to. It changes in temperature all the time, from warm to cool, depending on what it's next to. Of course, next to here, it's cool. And next to this one, it's cool. So you just test it. Test your eye. Let's add some yellow to it and see what kind of a warm. It'll go to green, but it'll be a nice neutral green, yellow green. So black does some wonderful things to changing the value and the color. So don't discount your black. It's useful, especially in the lighter tones. All right, let's add to that some warm white. Ooh, this is lovely. This is sort of a rich, toned down green, but very light. So this would be very nice to use for treetops or a lighter value in an abstract where it's next to a dark. Now we can add the rest of this white to this pile of greenish white, and we can get another tone of blue. This would be great for a misty day in the cloud or the mood. It's really interesting with those. So let's just put it next to that and see what it looks like. See, the relationship is now so much warmer than it is here. Even though it's light, it's warmer. And then let's take some of this color and put it next to this warm gray. The warm Gamblin. Let's make it a little darker so we can see it. It's pink. It's going to a rosy gray. Look how much warmer that is than that and then this. So if you're playing with temperatures, just remember that warm Portland gray is a nice pinkish gray where you don't want to go all the way to pink. Okay, so I'm running out of space, but let's just take a pile of that and add it with the rest of the turquoise and see what temperature we get and what color we get next to. We're going to get a dark one, dark teal. It looks like it's going from turquoise to teal. I guess it's a matter of semantics if it's teal or turquoise. It's definitely beautiful. It's all different colors of blues, blue grays. And so give yourself an opportunity to mix this palette a little bit to see what you get and what the temperature looks like for you. Let's go ahead and put some of this red, just a tiny bit, a couple eyelashes. We're going to get a neutral